Massacre Royal Commission must investigate the Five Eyes. And as we mentioned at the start of the show, you can call in for a copy of a compilation of articles we've put together over the recent weeks. Obviously, a lot of people would have big questions about this in any case, and we can only talk about it briefly today. But the big question mark is, why would the intelligence agencies not have known about this guy? How could he possibly have slipped through the nets, particularly given the awesome intelligence collection capabilities of the Five Eyes, of which New Zealand and of course Australia are a part, together with the US, UK and Canada.
And this guy left a trail of crumbs a mile wide.
Unbelievable. I mean, he was widely travelled. He'd been picked up in activity with right-wing groups from Europe to the Balkans to Ukraine. He had two members of his gun club that had reported his activities to the police, because even gun club members were very alarmed, which is unusual. He'd been active on these far-right web chat forums that were encouraging terrorism, which obviously they would keep an eye on, the authorities. He'd advertised his plans ahead of time, a couple of days, hours before, of course, live streaming the actual attack. And what we've shown in recent documentation we've put together, and particularly our terrorism pamphlet, is that virtually every case in both Australia and the United Kingdom of terrorist attacks in the last few years, the perpetrator has been either very well known to authorities or acting in conjunction with those authorities under their care. Now, what we picked up about this case, though, of the Christchurch murderer is very numerous similarities to the case of Martin Bryant in Port Arthur. And we'd put together a study in 1996 to 97 showing that Martin Bryant had been under the psychological care of a senior representative of what's known as Tavistock, the British Tavistock Institute, which is Britain's premier psychological warfare outfit. Now, there are also parallels in the case of Tarrant, the Christchurch killer. Tavistock talks about creating social turbulence, or how social turbulence and global events, by their horrific nature, induce trauma in the population, unleashing what they call a paradigm effect, or a paradigm shift in the population. Tarrant had used exactly such language, calling for the creation of a crucible of crisis to unleash tumultuous times. He said that only in times of radical change and social discomfort can great and terrific change occur. He said we must destabilise and discomfort society, including through radical and violent change. Of course, this is in his manifesto, but the kind of changes we're seeing, such as police state laws coming down worldwide, in light of a global financial crisis coming, is going to be of a threat to everybody.
Well, since 9/11, Elisa, the intelligence agencies in the Western world have got greater and greater and greater powers over our daily lives. The NSA led this, which is part of the Five Eyes, the National Security Agency in America, was given permission to launch this blanket surveillance over the whole world effectively, which they've done. So we've called on one of the whistleblowers of that, William Binney, to be called to the New Zealand Royal Commission to testify, because he proved that, like, you can watch his documentary, it's called A Good American, right? It's really one of the best films you'll ever see. He shows how this is such an oppressive system they've got, which is not necessary. But if they've got that system, how come all these terrorists are always known to authorities, they always get through? And so we're not saying it's incompetence. This is what we're alleging, something more, that there's an ulterior motive here, and it's the power that gives the state over us as part of this apparatus, this Five Eyes apparatus. We can't do justice now. Call in and get a copy and have a read of it.
And don't forget to vote for CEC in the Senate. Thanks for tuning in.